Hello everyone, this is Tan again. Welcome back to my channel. First of all, I would like to thank for all your support on my previous vlog, all your comments, share, like, mean a lot to me and give me a big motivation to continue to my series. So I have decided to call this vlog series as Machine Learning and Artificial Intelligence Disentangled, where I try to disentangle the key concepts of recent papers so that you can understand the paper better and you can even reuse the techniques for your future work. All right, so let's get started to today presentation. Today presentation, we talk about policy-based learning for offline contextual bandits. So it's very a small talk about this topic. And this is the second vlog on my series, Machine Learning and Artificial Intelligence. So I will publish this vlog on my YouTube channel show here. The goal of the talk is very simple. I try to walk you through the derivation steps to establish a regret value on offline contextual bandit in benign conditions, which mean simple conditions. And all right, so also I will show you how to use the uniform convergent argument to establish a regret value in this problem. Let's come to the setup of the contextual bandit. Contextual bandit is a decision-making framework, simple decision-making framework that okay, so we start with the context space S, which is infinite in this case. The action space A is finite with K is the number of actions. So the interaction model is as each round a context S and a reward function, which is a k-dimensional reward drawn from a joint distribution P, which we don't know about P. An agent then select an action according to a policy pi. So we consider a bandit feedback setting where as it grows, the agent observe only the contact and the reward sample are A correspond to its own action A. So it means that it cannot observe the reward from the other actions that it has not selected. Okay. So the goal here is to maximize the value V pi, which is simply the expected reward according to policy pi. So we denote pi star be such optimal policy, and it's easily proved that the optimal policy here is the deterministic policy. So in offline context-dependent learning, there's no exploration. So we are given the data, offline data, which is denoted by D here. So D is data that collected by a non-behavior policy mu as I and I or IID sample from the distribution B, P, and AI is according to the policy mu. And in the bandit feedback setting, offline bandit feedback setting, we the data set ETP, which is we only observe the reward at the chosen action or IAI. So the offline context-dependent learning problem take in only the offline data to produce a policy pi hat that minimize the value v pi. So maybe I will get some notes on this. Let me just in my iPad. you know, it's right here. Okay, okay. Sorry, let's go back to the, what is that? Sorry. What's going on? Okay, in this slide, so you can see the independent feedback setting. We only have the reward at the chosen action right here, and the goal here is to compute a regret, which is that the suboptimality when you use the policy pi hat instead of the optimal policy pi star. So pi hat is learned from the data, offline data, and it's offline setting because you only learn the policy from TP only, and there's no exploration step here. And we need some assumption to establish the result. And here, in this presentation, I just try to present some simple steps, present you the simple uniform convergent argument. So I consider a very simple assumption, benign assumption that allow to establish such bound. And in practice, there are many other assumptions that minor than the benign assumption we consider here, but for the sake of our presentation, just consider this simple assumption, right? So this assumption is called strict positivity. Strict positivity assumes that the okay the offline policy mu is low bounded by some positive constant here, kappa, and so this strict positivity assumption is the type of uniform data coverage that the behavior policy mu can cover all possible actions in any given context. So that's quite a common assumption in offline contextual bandit. So in offline context, we record that the goal is to take in the offline dataset and then maximize the value function as expected reward right here. And there's no exploration. We only use offline datasets and okay. So don't need to go this one because it's not necessary for today's presentation. So today we will focus on very simple offline contextual bandit algorithm using important sampling. The idea is that so let me recall that we had the offline data sets here, and then the important sampling is simply using the important weight pi over mu to obtain unbiased value estimate. We have B, so B is denoted for bandit. All right, so why is unbiased estimate? Because if you take the expectation of V hat pi using the behavior policy mu, so you get the V pi here, and so just to notice that the V hat pi, V hat B pi here is a random variable of the data, the offline data dp, okay, and then this algorithm just simply take the green policy with respect to the important sampling value estimate V happy pi right here, and just record the regressive this. Okay, so in order to establish the regret of the bandit algorithm, offline bandit algorithm, we use some intermediate value called V hat F. So V hat F is the value estimate, but using the full feedback instead of the bandit feedback. So full feedback is right here is that just you take the entire reward vector and then you weight it by the policy here, and then you sum up over all the samples, and then you take the creep policy of the full feedback value estimate. So here I will walk you through standard step to establish an upper bound on the offline contextual bandit. So here, recall the goal here is to establish the suboptimality V pi star minus V pi hat B. So now we decompose into three sources of errors by adding and subtracting this term and adding and subtracting this term. Okay, so this the approximation error, which is the first term here, is due to the limited function class of capital pi that we use. And estimation error is due to minimizing the empirical risk instead of the true risk. And the bandit error here is due to using the bandit feedback instead of the full feedback. So this error decomposition, while similar to the standard error decomposition in supervised learning, in supervised learning we decompose into approximation error and estimation error. And the only thing new here is that we have additional error term, bandit error here. So now we will move on to about its several terms. First, approximation error. Recall the approximation error is due to the limited policy class capital pi. And in this case, in this algorithm, the approximation error depends only on the estimated policy pi and does not depend on the importance sampling algorithm. So there's not much thing we could do about it. And so that's quite like the constant value we call epsilon capital pi. It depends only on the policy class capital pi, not on the importance sampling algorithm. And in the case that if our policy class capital pi is expressive enough that contain the optimal policy pi star, so the approximation error vanishes away. But in general, it's some constant term, and there's not much thing we could do about it in this algorithm. So about the estimation error. So in the estimation error, okay. So all right. So to establish the estimation error, first we call the pi perpendicular here as the projection of v pi onto the policy capital pi. Okay, and now we continue on decomposing the estimation error here is by adding and subtracting some empirical term, v pi v hat f of pi perpendicular and the v hat f of pi hat f, and you notice this the second term right here is is negative because p pi because p pi because pi hat f is the optimal the greedy policy with respect to v v hat f. So that's why it's the largest values here. So when you when the other value minus this, so it's become negative. So you can ignore the term and it become only the two term in the second round. And you notice that p perpendicular and uh, p perpendicular and pi perpendicular and pi hat f all belong to the policy class capital Pi. So this less than 2 subprimum of v pi minus v hat at pi for all pi over the policy class capital Pi. So this is a standard uniform convergence argument that you will encounter a lot when you establish about uniform convergence generalization value in reinforcement learning or in supervised learning. And at this step, we just apply the holding inequality on the IID random variable Si. So here Si is the dot product between the entire reward vector Ri and policy pi given the contact Si. So this Si is bounded by capital Si bounded by 1, and now we apply also the uniform bound over the policy class pi. So we have with high probability that the estimation error is bounded by this term. Okay, so now we move to the third term as the Bendick error. So the step is quite similar to the reverse step, but with a little bit modification. So here we also decompose by the Bendick error into three terms by adding and subtracting this term and adding and subtracting this term. And the second term here is negative because pi hat b is a greedy policy with respect to v hat b. Okay, so it's the largest value here. And then similarly, you use a uniform convergence argument to establish this one, but here is v minus v hat b, not v hat f as in the previous step. And then we continue on applying holdings inequality in the IIG random variable Si. But here, now Si here is like this, is have the important weight pi over mu right here, because we are using the value estimate v hat pi, v hat p, v hat b here in this banded error. And the capital Si is bounded by 1 over kappa because it's based on the positivity assumption that mu is lower bounded by kappa, and so this one is bounded by 1 over kappa. And then we just apply the holdings inequality, uniform bound of policy class pi, and then we have with high probability this banded error is bounded by the term with a little like constant factor 1 over kappa right here. So now we put everything together and use the uniform convert and use the union bound again. We conclude that the regret of the policy based banded learning in offline setting is bounded by this term. So we have the approximation error, which is I recall that if the policy class is expressive enough, so this term will becomes 0. And here is the convergence rate is over 1n in the term, right? And then we have a little factor 1 over kappa, which is stand for the uniform coverage assumption in the data. And this the term appears because of the offline bandit problem setting. Okay, so these references that I used for this presentation, and the first reference is from a paper on by Brent von Brunner, is the one I met in the machine learning summer school last year, and for the holdings inequality and on the concentration inequality, you can check it out in my recent notes in this address here in my blog. Alright, so that's all for today. So thank you for your attention. And if you have any question or comments on the problem, then just feel free to comment below. And if you find my presentations helpful, please subscribe my channel. Thank you.